Right. Well, don't forget to follow us on social media. I'm at Jim Tara, and Cassie is at Coach_Cassie RB on Instagram, at Coach Cassie RB on Twitter. All right, continuing on episode 19, finding sweet spot for success as an athlete, as a softball player, as a baseball player. When talking about leaving that sweet spot and you're starting to feel anxious, how does an athlete get over that anxiousness and get back to that middle ground as quick as possible?
Sure. I think you can kind of, if you're a coach working with an athlete, you're probably going to have to figure out exactly what works best for the athlete. But I do
Yeah.
think there's some overarching principles that apply to a lot of athletes,
Mhm.
and even older professionals who are not in the realm of athletics anymore. But anxiety usually stems from not being present, right? So your brain is starting to float to, oh gosh, what if I fail in this situation? What if this situation even comes up? Maybe we're starting to feel the anxiety of bases loaded when we're two batters up and it's just a potential of a situation, right? And so if our brain is floating to the future or to the past, maybe it's being reminded of previous failures or successes, then it's not in sync with our body, right? And in order for us to be our most successful or give ourselves our best chance of success, we need to have both of those in sync. So any technique to stay in the present. I used to use a little rubber band on my wrist that would snap me back to the present. Some people would pick dirt up and it was like they were dropping those negative self-talks, or they were dropping the anxiety out of their hand. So applying some type of physical cue to help you snap back to the present is certainly helpful. Other people used to have a saying that they had, they would say, hey, be here, stay in the present. That certainly is helpful as well. But anything that helps that brain from floating into those what ifs and what have yous, and just, hey, no, what's the most important thing right now? I need to take a deep breath and do a practice swing. I'm just on deck, just a
Right.
reminder of where you're at.
Yeah. You talked about the rubber band effect before. I'm sorry, I call it the rubber band effect when
Mhm.
you slap your wrist with the rubber band. Are there any other techniques that one could use that would get them back to where they need to be?
Sure. I think I can give you at least what I've used with athletes and then
Mhm.
what has worked for others. Some people have redone their batting glove. So under your batting glove one time, strap it back on. Take your helmet off, maybe wipe away whatever you're feeling, put it back on. I had a teammate with a birthmark on her arm. She called it her reset button. I've even seen places go as far as having like this tiny little toilet in the batter's box, or excuse me, in the dugout, because they were trying to flush away previous at bats or previous errors or something like that. Short term memory, stay in the present. What's important now, be in the present. So, you can have all these techniques and we can talk about them all we want, but
Yeah.
just like anything, it's just like a tea drill. Like, it's not going to work unless you use it, unless you actually buy into it, unless you find what works best for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think too, we had a technique on our team. It was called support sisters, right? And so when you went on a road trip, your roommate would be your support sister that weekend, and you had a piece of paper you had to fill out. And one of the questions was, hey, when you're not in the present. So when we called it green lights and red lights, right? Green light was the sweet spot. When you're in that red light, what do you want me to tell you, help you with, remind you of? And you started to learn what was effective and helpful for everybody on your team. So come playoffs, come the end of the year, you've roomed with just about everyone. Someone's at the plate and swings at a high pitch. That puts them in red lights, and that reminding them, hey, there's millions of people in China that don't care you just swung at that pitch, is helpful for her. you know.